Hi, Teresa here again for Blind Spots, and today we're going to be looking into the first episode in a short series on the housing crisis that plague many of our countries. So let's get into it. Ireland has a housing crisis. Britain has a housing crisis. Spain, Portugal, Germany, the Netherlands, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the US, different countries, same surface symptoms. High rent, impossible deposits, adults stuck living with parents, workers unable to live near work, homelessness, overcrowding, people who are afraid to leave a bad rental because they may not find another one. But calling it a crisis doesn't explain it. A crisis is just what we see as the symptoms of the problem. The real question, the important question is, how did we get here? What caused this housing crisis? What built it? Because this isn't only happening in countries without money. The United States is the largest economy in the world by GDP and still has a severe housing crisis. Ireland's a wealthy country, the UK is wealthy, Germany, Canada, Australia, the Netherlands, Spain and Portugal are all wealthy democracies. So the question is not simply, does a country have enough wealth? The question is, does that wealth translate into stable, affordable housing infrastructure for ordinary people? Because let's not forget, housing is the cornerstone of stability. The usual explanation is that it's a supply and demand problem. Too many people, too few homes, so prices rise. And supply does matter. Of course it matters. If there are not enough homes, people suffer. But supply and demand is only part of the problem. When we talk about supply, where are the houses being built? Who are they owned by? What price are they being rented at? What are the mortgage conditions to be able to buy one of these houses? Protected by which type of rules? Available to residents or absorbed by investors, tourists, short-term lets and asset holders? Housing crises are manufactured by systems, land systems, credit systems, planning systems, tax systems, rental systems, and welfare systems. Over time, many wealthy democracies made the same deeper mistake. They allowed housing to become an asset first and shelter second, and allowed it to be governed by market forces. States relied too heavily on private markets to deliver a basic need, a basic right. Public and social housing was weakened, sold off, or underbuilt. Mortgage debt became the gate into stability. Renters started to be treated as temporary consumers, even as renting became the permanent reality for millions. Then you have the tax system, which rewards ownership and speculation. Planning systems restricted or delayed supply. Financial actors entered housing as an investment class, not an owner class, not a resident class. Tourism and short-term lets redirected houses away from residents. Welfare systems attempted to patch the wound with rent supports and emergency accommodation instead of changing the structure. But all of this doesn't mean that every country has the same crisis. And that's the important thing. Ireland, Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand show one version. That is, housing as an asset-led ownership system where private markets, debt and property wealth dominate. Whereas Spain, Portugal, Greece, Croatia and Malta, for example, show another pressure. Tourism, short-term lets, foreign capital, low wages and residents being priced out of their own cities. Then you have Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden and Denmark, which show something else again. Even high-capacity states with stronger welfare, with stronger rental or welfare systems are also under strain. Then you have a set of countries and cities that have failed less when it comes to housing. Vienna, Finland, parts of France, the Netherlands, Denmark. Places where public, social, municipal or non-profit housing still gives the state tools outside the private market. So the important thing is not only how many homes are being built, but who is that housing going to and who is that housing for? Particularly where, which is most of the places, market is the dominant regulator. If housing is for residents, then success means affordability, security, stability, decent conditions, and the ability to build a life. If housing is for assets, then success means rising prices, higher rents, investor confidence, capital gains, and scarcity value, which is the situation many of the countries I mentioned find ourselves in. And those two goals eventually collide, as we can see already. A society cannot endlessly celebrate rising house prices and then act surprised when people can't afford to buy those houses. The housing crisis was not manufactured by one policy, one party, or one bad market cycle. It was manufactured by decades of decisions about what housing is for. And if that is true, then the crisis isn't a natural crisis. It's a political one. And that, I think, is the blind spot.